Welcome to our session on forms, which are also managed here in the toolbox. Forms are a really powerful tool that can help you and your other administrators streamline and digitize processes for your workforce. To create a new form, you'll click the blue button in the top right-hand corner, and you can either create a new form or you can explore our templates library. We would encourage you to explore some information within the template library so you can really get some inspiration on what others are doing and what can be helpful for your organization. In the top right-hand corner, if you want to explore forms templates specifically, you can choose the feature form from the dropdown, and this will list all of the forms that we have included in our template library so you can get started with one that is pre-built instead of having to start from scratch. So go ahead and include this inspection checklist. I can see a little overview and I'll click Use Template. And right away, this brings me right back into the dashboard here with my pre-built form for me to edit. Our forms have several different question types. So what you can see here are some examples of these different question types. You can also enter in your own title, and you can even reorder the questions quite easily throughout the form itself, as well as marking questions required or not required if needed. With our question types, you will see the option for short or long text options for entering in a free form answer to a particular question. You also have the option for drop down, single select, or multi-select, as well as a user select option. So this can be really helpful if users if you want to preload a few options for users to pick from. For a user select, this will actually load the entire user directory into the form. So a user can select one of their colleagues within the form itself. So for example, if a manager sign off is required on this inspections checklist, that user select option can be used so that manager can be selected within the form. We also see our customers using the user select option often for our peer recognition programs that they might be implementing. The information text field is something that's really nice to include at the very top of your form here, just to kind of explain what the form is about and how it needs to be filled out. And the last few options for our questions here, we do have a drawing field, which is really nice. It can allow a user to kind of use their finger to draw in a signature or a sign off, which is helpful for some of these operational forms that you might be implementing or digitizing. They can also upload images as well. So in the event of like an inspection form, maybe as we have here, taking a picture of the completed work at the end of the form can be a nice way to round out and show the completion and digitization of the work that's being done. And the last two options would be for a user to select a date or a time within the form itself. As you can see, as we scroll through our options here with each of these, you do see the option to make it as required. As I mentioned, you can also attach a file as well. So if there's something else that needs to be referenced in regards to the form itself, you can include attachments alongside each of the questions if necessary. And if there's a common question as you're building your form that needs to be duplicated, you can choose this little copy button to duplicate the form. And if a question needs to be removed, you can just click that little trash can icon there. Once you've finalized your form here, you can hit save. Then from our forms list, let me just go back over here. You can see your completed form here. So there's a few different options available to you once your form has been created and it's ready to be shared with other individuals within your organization. So on the right-hand side in the gear icon here, you'll see a few of the different options to help manage this form. So if you do need to edit the form again in the future, this is where you would go in to do that. You can click edit or just simply click into the form itself. When it comes to sharing the form, where there are a few different options for getting this form available to your users, most commonly we'll see our customers copying the URL link here, and then they'll add the form actually to a shortcut here. So if I wanted this inspection form to be part of my standard shortcuts, I could come in here and insert my shortcut, add my link to my form here, and I can call this my inspection form, and then hit save. And then what I can see on the front end here in my shortcuts is this new inspection form already loaded with my my questions that I just created here. So that's a really common way that we see these forms shared in your organization. But there are other options that are really neat to showcase for you as well. The first option here is to download as a QR code. When I think about the implementation of an inspection form specifically, this QR code can be really helpful. You can put the QR code right on that piece of machinery that needs to be inspected and make really quick access to that form for the user. They just have to pull up their camera, scan that QR code, and they're immediately brought right into the form. You can also pre-fill and then get a QR code after the pre-fill option has been completed. So for example, if there are certain pieces of information that you'd want to pre-fill in advance. So let me go back to my inspection form here. Go back to share form. So if I wanted to pre-fill some of the question types here, so maybe the construction site is something that's common. Before I were to put the QR code out onto the job site, I could say Austin and then generate my QR code. And then once that QR code is generated, it would essentially, or that URL is generated, it would pre-fill that word Austin into the form itself, saving your users a little bit of time with some of the data entry that might be required. So again, if you wanted to kind of do that pre-fill option, it can save a little bit of time if the same form needs to be used for different locations. So back to my options here for my forms. I'm going to go ahead and just showcase some of the additional options that are available to you. I'll actually go back to this other screen here as well with my inspection checklist. So underneath the share form, you'll see the option to duplicate a form. So if this is something that you wanted to create multiple iterations for, you can easily create that duplication. So save you time in re-entering information for common forms that you might need to implement. You can also connect the submissions in an automatic way. So that would mean that anytime the inspection checklist is sent out, I have the option to send a PDF to an email address, send it to a stream itself, or send it to a chat inbox, or connect it to a third party through a webhook as well. So just to show you what this looks like, to send as a PDF to an email, all I would do here is just kind of type an email address field here, and that would allow anytime that form is submitted, an email would be sent to this email address here. And you do have the ability to separate by commas and include multiple email addresses if you'd like. We do see sometimes our customers will send form submissions into a stream. So for that recognition moment, it might save some time with those recognition submissions to just have them shared publicly for that camaraderie amongst the organization by sending it directly to a celebration stream. And then in general as well, we often see that the chat inbox is used as a place for forms to be held. So that information is being sent to a specific chat box as well. And in a similar way, you can choose multiple users for the chats as well to generate that form submission to. You do have the option to export the results into Excel, and you can also set the access here, which is where I'll spend a little bit of time here within the forms. So when it comes to setting for permissions, you yourself as a global admin might be in charge of managing a lot of these forms yourself. But if you did want to delegate to other individuals to help manage a specific form, you can manage that permission by setting the access through this options menu here. So what you can do for the collaborator section here, if there are other individuals that you want to have access to the form in their dashboard, that would give them access to share the form, to edit the questions within the form, reorder them, remove the form, etc. You can search those people from your dropdown here and add them to the list. Once an individual is added as a collaborator to their form, they will see that form within their form section of the toolbox on the admin dashboard. The submission viewers are the people that can actually see the results of the forms themselves. So you do have the ability to open this up to everyone if everyone is able to see those submission viewers. But let's say, for this inspection form, we just want our admin group to be able to actually see the results here, as well as, my admin's Melissa here. That will be how I can decide who can actually see the results of the forms that are submitted. And then the submitters themselves, if you did need to limit who can actually enter information into this form. So for example, if you did load a form into a shortcut and it's really something that only the maintenance team should be seeing, you can further limit that that access to the maintenance team through the submitters option as well, which if others outside of that particular individual or group were to try to enter into that form, they would get an error message. We typically see our customers will leave this open to everyone, but just know that you do have the ability to limit the submissions on your end as well if you need. Once my permissions have been set, I'm ready to go and continue to share the form, and it's ready to be used. So we've got our form showcased here in our shortcuts, as I mentioned and showed you earlier. And you do have that option to share through that QR code as well, making it really easy to access these forms and for your users to fill them out. That does cover our forms and the associated permissions. So now it's time for you to give it a shot. Make your own form either on your own or select from the template library. Make sure you set those permissions and then share that URL via a shortcut. I'll see you on our next video.